Quarantine, self-isolation, lockdown, happy hour. We are joined by a fabulous, 70 weeks on the bestseller list in Germany author, early 193er, Nina Sedano. Thank you.
Hi there.
So let's talk right about writing a bestseller. I think many of us write about our travels and have a lot of trouble finding people who will read it. So what's your magic tip for making an interesting travel book?
I have no idea. I just love writing and sharing my stories, and that it became a bestseller. I don't know how that happened, but I was quite a lot in the media, luckily. And I think thanks to the media and social network, it became a bestseller.
All right. And for those that haven't read, I believe is an English version forthcoming?
I would love to have an English version, and I'm working on it, but nothing has happened so far. So I need an English speaking publisher, and that's what I need.
Okay. So for those that aren't facile in German, talk about the structure of the book and something clearly captured your audience's imagination.
It's short stories in different countries, in different nations. And I begin with a story as a child when I did my first trip abroad, which was actually when I was 5 years old skiing with my mother. And I didn't like skiing at all at the time. And then there is another story when I was young, when I went the first time to England to learn English, to improve my English when I was 13. And so it's building up by age, and it starts with the first and ends with the last country,
Mhm.
well, of the 193rd country.
Mhm. And I believe that a lot of the core challenge was a friend who almost dared you, I think, at age 36 to say you can't travel to every country, and you
No, no,
completed it by 45.
she said I can't travel to every village in the world when I was at the age of 39, turning almost 40, and she said, "You can't travel every village in the world." And I just thought, why is she saying that? Of course, I cannot. There is no chance to travel every village in the world. And I just thought by myself, maybe I make every country. And I was at the time had traveled 136 countries, and I said, okay, there are almost another 60 more, and hopefully I will do that in the next few years. And I luckily made it.
Hmm. And the 193rd country is?
Was Turkmenistan in
Ah,
2011 already. It's a long time. It's unbelievable. 9 years this year.
and it's Turkmenistan maybe isn't the first place people think of a celebration. That's difficult to invite friends and family because of the visa. How did you
Yeah.
celebrate when you arrived?
No, I didn't really celebrate. I just thought whether I might kiss the airport floor or the floor arriving back in Frankfurt, or go outside of the airport and hug a tree. But I had a night flight and I was so exhausted and I was feeling so dizzy. I just was happy to get home and fall into my bed. So no celebration at all.
It, I was thinking that if you're kissing the floor in an airport, I mean, Frankfurt is clean, but in
Yeah,
Ashgabat there aren't too many passengers, so maybe there's less foot traffic in Ashgabat.
yeah. I thought it wouldn't have been too bad, or hug a stranger. Yeah, instead of hugging a tree, but I did none of those. Yeah, I was just so tired. I went on the public transport, and the public transport took me half an hour home. And at home, I fell into my bed, and I was so exhausted. Yeah, and I had a good day's sleep.
Yeah, you picked one where all the flights seem to be in the middle of the night in Central Asia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We started it at night, and I arrived in the morning at night. Yeah.
Mm. Well, that's fantastic, and you're one of the first women who has traveled to every country in the world, I think. And has that, in terms of the media coverage, is that something that has been asked a lot of you, and what are your feelings on?
Um, it's not that I think I'm one of the first. I think there were a few women before me who are like 30 years older, and
Mm,
it doesn't matter. But so far, I'm in Germany, the only German who's done it,
mm,
and nobody has come forward and has said, "Hey, I did it as well." Yeah, a
mm,
female. I know a few men, German men, who have traveled all the 193 United Nations,
mhm,
but and also in Austria and Switzerland, the German-speaking world, I haven't heard of a female. So I'm in the German-speaking area. I'm the only one, and in Europe, I think we at the moment we are five or six. As I know, I'm not so sure because there are always more. Not at the moment, but last year I heard of a Swedish lady, and
mm,
I don't I I don't see this as a competition, and I would like to meet some women who have done it as well and to chat with them what for problems they had while they went traveling.
mm. What were some of the problems you faced, and also some of the advantages?
It was sometimes very, very difficult to get into a country. Saudi Arabia, I had to
Mm,
go on a tour. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been allowed to get in, and travel around by myself was impossible in 2008 when I went there. And some other countries, I needed invitations, like in Turkmenistan, I was also not allowed to travel places on my own. Only
mm,
Ashgabat, the capital, I was allowed to walk around on my own, but the other places I had always a guide to come with me, and I didn't like that so much because I'm used to travel by myself and
mhm,
look
mhm,
around on my own and not have someone to watches out for me. So yeah, and it's always the visa situation was always difficult. Yeah, for some African countries, they wanted to have an invitation
mhm,
and just for traveling there for a month, and they wanted to see how much money I had, and that is always complicated. And sometimes men think it's for females it's easier to travel, but it's not, especially when you're alone. It's definitely not.
mm. And what are some of the advantages? So things that you've experienced that I probably couldn't have, or you had a very different perspective.
I don't think whether a female to be a female is an advantage in the mainly male world. Um, I don't
I'm,
see.
I'm thinking, for instance, I've heard some travelers talk about, say, being invited in Afghanistan to a wedding, where, of course, how women experience that wedding is totally different than how men experience the wedding.
Well, I wasn't invited to a wedding in Afghanistan. I could have gone in Azerbaijan to a I was actually in Kiribati, in one of the islands, invited to a wedding, which was outside, and I was so ashamed because I didn't have a present, and I
Mm,
was invited 3 hours before or 5 hours, so I couldn't even buy anything. And
mm,
normally when I go somewhere, when I'm invited in a house, when I'm invited for something, for some place, I bring something along, and there I couldn't. I just was there myself, and I was a bit ashamed. And I was dancing with the people, and that was really nice. But I think whether I'm male or female or so, I think it
mm,
that wouldn't make so much of a difference. And I cannot say because I was a female, I was
mm,
invited more. I'm not sure. I mean, I cannot say.
mm.
It's impossible.
How about you talk about your visit to Kiribati? Did you spend some time there then?
I had 5 days because
Okay.
it's quite difficult to get to the island, and
Mhm,
it's also very expensive to stay there. I was
mhm,
not, I didn't have a cheap accommodation. I don't remember how much it had costs, but it's way above the budget I normally had, like when I was traveling in Vietnam or Laos or Cambodia
mhm,
or other places in Southeast Asia.
mm. And in the Pacific, what's your favorite island experience in the Pacific?
I liked Fiji a lot. I had a good time because it's also a big island, and I got cheesecake there. I never forget that. I love cheesecake, and I
Ah,
got really good cheesecake there. And also Easter Island, you have to go. It's just a must, yeah. And it's so far away, like Hawaii, from everything.
hmm
Yeah,
hmm
you have to go there.
Let's do a cheesecake tour of the world. What are some of the best cheesecake you had?
Difficult, difficult. Whatever. I love strawberry cheesecake, raspberry cheesecake, whatever. Also in the US, the cheesecake is smashing. Yeah, it's really, really nice.
I often hear that the US versions of desserts are too sweet, that Europeans often think,
I like
whether it's
sweet. I,
cheesecake or any, that we make them too sweet.
I don't think so. I love sweet and I love toffee and toffee ice cream and caramel. It can never be too sweet,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Okay, well let's maybe stay nearer to your home country. Where should we get toffee, caramel?
Toffee I got in England. My
Mhm,
second visit to England at the age of 15. I got these toffee bars, really big 20 grams
mhm,
toffee bars, and I got also the best toffee ice cream ever.
mm,
Was there 3 weeks, and every day I would get the toffee ice cream and two balls of ice cream of the same toffee because I loved it so much and I would like to have it again and
mm.
can't get it anywhere like it was, yeah. And also the place is not, the ice cream parlor is not there anymore. It was like
Oh,
40 years ago, yeah, almost.
mm. How about for chocolates? What is your chocolate pick?
It's, oh, how do I say in England? It's with not with whole nuts, but with very very fine, lots of nuts in it, but very very fine. It's called noisette. I'm not sure whether you call it in or
Mm.
Snickers.
Mm.
Snickers as well, yeah. So
So you're not
Snickers.
a snob. It's
Snickers I get in most places. Yeah, the chocolate I get here, it's a type Milka chocolate. I don't get easily in abroad. Kinder
Mm,
chocolate I get probably in other countries as well, but the Milka chocolate I don't get in many places.
mm. Do you try the
Yeah,
sweets in every country?
Yeah, I like fruit a lot. In Germany, most of the fruit are imported. But
Mhm.
when I travel to Thailand, I really love the fresh fruits there.
I'm a big fruit sampler too. What are some of your favorites?
Durian. Have you tried
Ah,
durian?
yes, I love durian.
Yeah, me too. And they were all surprised when I said in Thailand, yeah, this is durian. Yeah, I know, I like it. Yeah. Have you had the red one or the yellow one? Because it's red and yellow.
I've had the yellow more. Uh,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That was
How
in
about mango?
Malaysia. I
How
was,
about
sorry.
mangosteen?
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I love mango as well. Oh, yes.
The mangosteen, the one I think they say the durian is the king of fruit, and the mangosteen they say is the queen. It's the sort of
Okay.
dark red
Mango.
with
Oh,
the.
yeah. Yeah. Mangosteen I love as well, and lychees and rambutan
Mm,
and I had some other fruit I never in the Philippines. I've never
mm,
had anywhere before.
mm,
And I never figured out the name of it because they told me the name in their language, and
mhm, mm.
I forgot to make a note of it, and I was not traveling with a smartphone or to look it
Yeah.
up or something, so I never know what I've eaten.
Do you remember how to describe it? We have some Philippine travelers that listen.
It looked like it had the color of an eggplant, yeah,
Hmm,
like a courgette, but
mhm.
it was sweet and it was a bit, and inside it was white, and I have no idea. And it was, as small as the mangosteen, a bit roundish,
Hmm.
oval. I can't really.
Hmm.
It's also a while ago. It was in 2000, beginning of the 2004 or something.
Mhm. We'll have to track that down. I love mangosteen, so it sounds
Yeah,
delicious.
yeah, and
Passion fruits are
mangosteen.
my other addiction. I love passion fruits.
Yeah, and it's mangosteen is also in Europe hard to get. You can get it, but then you pay for one like you pay there for a kilo. And I had mangosteens in Thailand the last time. Yummy.
I can get them. I live in Seattle, and well, the border is not so open right now, but I can get them much cheaper in Vancouver than Seattle. So
Okay,
I will,
okay,
I will,
good.
I enjoy them when I go up there. Um,
So you're
the
in Seattle.
Seattle, yeah.
Oh, very nice, nice place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We have lots of German visitors. When I don't own a car, I rent a car, and in the summer, there's
yeah.
always German travelers picking up the car for their either their drive to San Diego or their drive up to Alaska.
Okay, yeah. I did a tour from Seattle with a green turtle.
Ah,
You know this bus? This bus where you can also you convert the bus and you sleep on the bus and the people do camping outside. And
oh,
I
no,
did
I didn't know.
did a trip through Alaska and through Canada and the Inside Passage, a 4 week,
Mm,
and it was really nice. But that was also 16 years ago.
wow. So Riza Rasco, one of our Filipino travelers, she thinks you had a star apple. So that may be the
What?
fruit. It's called a star apple.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
her
yeah,
guess
yeah.
of what you had. Yeah.
No. It's not a star apple. No.
Oh,
It's not, I know how it looks like. Yeah, a
okay.
star apple. No. I don't think.
Yeah.
I
We
don't
will
think.
we will keep guessing then.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Philippines in well, almost 15 years, so I need to go back and try a lot of fruits too.
It feels like it's small. It feels like an eggplant. If you see it, you think it's a small eggplant, but
Hmm.
it's sweet inside. It's very nice.
Oh, oh, fascinating.
And I
Uh,
had another one, another something fruit type, which was orange inside, and it looked like outside like a potato. It have a rough skin, and it also got it in the Philippines. And I was not allowed to. And I saw it again in Thailand. The thing I thought, and I wanted to take a photo, and the woman who sold it didn't let me take a photo.
oh, wow.
That
Huh.
was a pity. Yeah, she was not a very nice woman. I was really disappointed. Yeah.
I'm trying to see. Is it the mame sapote? I'm looking at all of these. Oh, maybe what you had is the miracle fruit. I searched one, and it looks like Google knows that people start searching for one of these trying to identify. So there's another one called
Mm.
miracle fruit that might be it. But
It's also a problem when I have the English name, I still don't have the
yeah,
German name for it. Yeah, if there is a name at all.
yeah. And speaking of German, what is it about Germans that they travel everywhere?
They have so many holidays. They have normally 50 days holidays from work. Yeah, and they're quite in. We are nice in the center of Europe.
Hmm.
And there we have lots of neighbor countries to see already. So the good thing is in Europe, some other countries are not very far, and you
Hmm.
drive a few hours and you're in another country with another language, and then you meet other people. And in the States, you drive for miles and you just go to a different state.
Hmm. And I've
That's
I've
maybe, yeah,
I've
maybe
I've
that.
tried it all. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I've tried in all my travels to find the place where I do not encounter any Germans. And I don't know that I've ever been to a place where there's not some German. That the French have a lot of vacations. They take a lot of trips, but there's some destinations that have many French and some where you just don't see any French travelers. But I can't think of a place where there wasn't some German traveler.
I was in Malawi, but that was also quite some time ago, and I didn't see. any white person for a couple of days.
Mhm.
So I remember that. Yeah, that
Mm.
was also very strange. And I stayed in a backpacker's place, and I think I was quite alone there. There were no travelers at all. And I also
Mm.
had the same in the Central African Republic. Yeah, I was also, or in Chad, that I also didn't see any people, expats or working there. Didn't also see any white people. So, but the Germans, yeah, they are everywhere, and sometimes I like to avoid them as well. That
What
because
of their
I don't want to speak German. I'm happy. I speak several languages, and
Mhm.
I like to communicate when I'm in Madagascar. I like to, or in some African countries. I like to improve my French and speak French with the people.
Mm.
And I have also a funny story. When I was in England at the age of 15, I met some Germans, and we didn't want to speak German with each other to improve our English. So
Mm.
we two German girls pretended with some German guys we were Swedish. And then we said some words in Swedish like smørrebrød, yeah, like and pretended we were speaking Swedish. We had no clue of Swedish. And then in the end, we told the guys, no, no, we are German. But you spoke Swedish. No, that wasn't Swedish. That was a good laugh. So we all improved our English.
So talk about that experience. It sounds like you got interested in travel very young. So 15, you're in England.
Yeah, I loved England a lot. I love the British sense of humor. Yeah, they were really laughing their head off about things I like a lot, and yeah, I had a lot of fun with the Brits because I was with 13, 15, and 18 in
Mm.
England, and I met some Spanish, Italian, French there, and had also pen pals for starting with the age of 15. Then I had an Italian friend. I went to Italy, didn't speak Italian then. Now I speak Italian as well, and
Mm.
went to see her. Went to Paris and met people in Paris. I had met a year before in England. So this is how I really started and got connected with people. And then
Mm.
didn't have these tools we have now that we talk to everybody live. Yeah, we wrote letters. Yeah, there
Mm.
was nothing but writing letters, and it was also fun to get a letter. I had a letter every day. Then I wrote a letter every day, almost every day.
Oh wow, what a collection that must be.
Oh yeah, I have a case here, a suitcase, a real big suitcase, and it's weighing 12 kilos, and it's full of postcards and letters
Mm.
I
Ah.
have received in my life when I was like a teenager. Now I email, yeah, I don't write letters anymore. Yeah, that is really strange. I don't remember when I have written my last letter. Oh, that's a while ago.
Oh, that's great. And Germany is a country that I've had different visits, sometimes for business, sometimes leisure, very short visits, many wonderful places. What do you recommend for somebody who's maybe they visited Berlin and seen those sites, but they haven't really explored the country? We'll say
It,
a 2 week trip, which is nothing by European standards, but a lot for an
uh,
American.
2 weeks in Germany. There are so many places. It depends what you like. I like the Rhine Valley, and I love castles a lot.
Hmm.
So the Rhine Valley has the river and has nice castles. I think it has the highest density of castles in the world, the Rhine Valley, and that is very nice. Also, Bavaria, I like Neuschwanstein as well. I've been there
Hmm.
twice, which is not so much, but
Hmm.
I really like it, and I like also the Alps, the mountainous region, and also Eastern Germany, yeah, which lots of Germans from Western Germany don't like Eastern, my age, don't like Eastern Germany so much. And the north, some islands, a big island in Eastern Germany is really, really nice to spend some time there.
Mm.
Yeah, apart from big cities like Frankfurt, where I live, or Berlin, or Munich, or Hamburg, it's the countryside is nice, and I like also the UNESCO World Heritage sites in Germany. There is big forest, tree forest, a special kind of tree, which I don't know the name now in English. No, I will find it in my head.
What of the UNESCO World Heritage Sites? There's quite a few for Germany. What are some that you would say take a special trip to visit?
Let me say, in Neuschwanstein is not. Uh, the Linderhof, that is also a small castle
Hmm.
in Bavaria, which is nice to see. I've been to almost all of them. I think I'm missing one or two. Bamberg is the town of Bamberg is really nice, with lots old houses and a river going through, and the theater in Bayreuth is also,
Mm.
you get a guided tour there, is very, very interesting. And yeah, there's so many places to see. It's amazing. I'm not going to see every village in Germany. I'm not going to make that either. It is but it's so difficult because the variety also, yeah, you have mountains, you have islands, you have even small islands with no cars but people living there, yeah, there you have then horse carts, and or you have a small train, yeah, the east region islands, and the Wadden Sea, or how do you call it, the special where the water comes in from everywhere, yeah, when it's low tide, and then you have high tide, and all the water comes in from everywhere. How do you call it, Wadden Sea, or how do you say?
Yeah, I think when we see the W, you either
Yeah,
you
yeah,
either you either try to be authentic or you just turn it into a W.
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know what's called in English.
I
It's
think I
it's
think it's a Vadency, or some people might read it as Wadden because they're.
Yeah, and that is something also very special in the world, and it's really nice to see. And I used to, when I was 10 years old, I was there with my mother, and I went horse riding there. And
Mhm.
I love also when I travel to get on a horse and go out into nature. I'm a really nature person, and I like to go out walking, cycling, or getting on a horse.
Fantastic. Edgar is saying he was supposed to go to a Pokemon festival in Dusseldorf. I assume that was canceled. What he's asking? What is Dusseldorf like?
Oh, Düsseldorf is it's quite modern, and it's quite nice, and modern, and you have the Rhine River there, and you have also an old town, and you have the beer beer. I don't drink beer, and I don't drink wine, and I don't drink coffee. I'm a bit strange, but I like Coke. Yeah, I drink a lot of Coke, and when I'm traveling, I need the sugar, and I drink a lot of tea as well. So I'm not into so much wine and beer drinking. Yeah, people, yeah, the beer and the wine and great, and I say, I have no taste for it. So
You sound almost American. Coke and Snickers. You confess to
yeah,
liking Snickers.
yeah. The thing is, you get it almost everywhere. Yeah, you
Mm,
go to Africa, Coke you get everywhere. Yeah, and in every country, there is no country where I didn't get a Coke. It is really
mm,
amazing. And Snickers is also, if you have a normal chocolate, yeah, you get it in Germany.
mm,
It's in India, you can't have it because you go out of the supermarket, and it's cacao, yeah. You have it's melted. It's just
yeah.
just melted, yeah, with the heat.
Hmm.
and Snickers has peanuts in, and I like peanuts as well, and so it's not melting so quickly.
Hmm. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
and cheesecake. Where's cheesecake from? Is it American or Austrian? I have no idea where cheesecake comes from.
I know in the Turkish Airlines lounge in Istanbul, there were some cakes, and I said, I don't. I told my wife I don't like any of these cakes, and she said it was some very famous Austrian bakery they had brought them in from. So I said,
Oh,
they're too plain. So, but
okay.
I'm not sure the history of cheesecake. I would imagine well, the American versions, they stretch the definition of cheesecake to very different things nowadays. Uh, Denai was asking about your book, so we talked a little bit about your book in the beginning,
Yeah,
and you said it's different stories at different points in your travel life.
yeah. In my travel life, and it starts when I was youngest. And the first book I've written by now three books, and the
Oh, three
first
of
book, three books exactly, and the first book is soon to be out in Germany as an audiobook. It's just in the process
them.
of it's just produced at the moment, which is
Mhm.
nice to have. And I'm not going to read it because I can't read well. I better talk, but reading is not my cup of tea. So yeah, and I see how it will be in the end. Yeah, it's read from it one to one. Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's not shortened, and
Okay.
yeah, yeah. It's
And
and I
tell
hope
us about the other two books.
yeah, the third book is another book. It's another book like the first one. It starts again at a young age
Mhm.
and ends also with another trip to Greenland, which I did 2 years ago. And the problem is really writing those books because I never expected to ever write books.
Mm.
And I write a lot from memory because I made short notes when I was traveling. But especially when I was young and I hadn't written a diary, I started to write a diary when I was 15,
Mm.
16. And to go back into memory and write about the age of 5 or 13 when I just have my memory is really, really complicated. Yeah. And then
Mm.
I cannot ask anybody else because with the people in England I met, I have no more contact.
Mm.
So that is really the difficult thing. And also some other stories when there are 20 years ago, and I write them from my memory and not when I was traveling there. I haven't made like 20 pages note of it in a 2 week trip or so. I have
Mhm.
sure little messages or something, and I write it from memory. And I write it also when I see a picture. I look at the pictures again, and they trigger a memory, and that's the difficulty. Yeah, I'm not writing, I'm not there at the moment, and I'm writing so
Mm.
so it's all in the memory in the past. Yeah, and that is quite difficult.
Mm. And did you mention the second book?
Yeah, and the second book is about something very, very important. It's about restrooms and toilets, and because it's always the problem when we are somewhere, especially for females, and in Africa you can't just find toilets somewhere everywhere. Yeah, or also
Mhm.
in India it's a big problem. And when I was like 18, 17, my mother was in Russia and she showed me a Russian toilet, and it was really, I was so shocked. And I luckily I didn't the photo didn't smell the photograph, and I just had the idea to write a book about toilets, and I did that with the second book. Yeah, and it's quite funny.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. I didn't expect that to be
Yeah,
the
it's even called Happy End. Yeah.
ah.
So yeah, and I write a chapter about the history of toilets from 6,000 years ago.
Huh.
and yeah, from the 3,000 years before Christ, and not 6,000, sorry, for 2,000 years before Christ, 4,000 years,
Mm.
not 6,000. That's a bit too long, too exaggerated. And then I have also personal stories. Yeah, I have some very funny stories with toilets, but I have also a very sad story, a very
Mm.
strange story, very weird stories, but all funny. So I have like 20 personal stories in it, and 16 other chapters with regarding the German language, because the German language
Mm.
has changed a lot in 100 years, but also regarding bad words about toilets, restroom, peeing, and
Mhm.
whatever. Yeah, and also the four-letter words. Yeah, so to say,
Mm.
and it's also very. So I and there are lots of articles of newspapers when something happened on the toilet. So it's quite a
Huh.
funny, strange book. Yeah, and it's also not translated.
We're waiting for the, it sounds like very Germanic humor, but I think we're also excited for the English translation.
Yeah, it would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Riza's asking if you were to go to the 193 countries again, what would you do differently?
Nothing,
Mhm.
nothing. I can't say with the experience. Then I can't say I would do anything different, because I came through all countries with very many positive experiences, and I had no, I had sometimes bad experiences, but I hardly remember them, and
Mm.
I think I made so many nice experiences, and I'm glad I went to like Peru, to Machu Picchu, and I just came there, arrived there, walked up, and walked around. Now the people have to queue, yeah, or they have to get a lot and reserve a space that they can go in. I don't know how many weeks or months in advance,
Mm.
and I'm glad I traveled at a time like 20, 30 years ago, when the world wasn't so crowded as it now is. And
Mm.
I'm also happy I went to Syria and saw the temple in Palmyra, which are now
Mm.
destructed. Yeah, and I'm really also I'm very grateful that I could do what I have done and that I have done it. And I always kept telling people, do it when you can, and don't postpone it for later. When you can do it, do it. Don't postpone it for later, because people in my country, they say, oh, I do it when I'm retired. You never know whether you retire, whether you're still alive. And
Yeah.
when you're alive, you don't know whether you're healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I, before the corona started in the beginning of March, I went to talk to students in a school,
Hmm.
and and it was a girls' school. It was an entire girls' school, and they asked me, so what would you tell us, and give us on our way, what should we do in our life, or how should we do it? And I said exactly the same thing. When you can do something, when you have the chance, do it. Grab the
Mm.
chance and do it. Don't wait for later. Don't wait. If you want to travel, travel now, or travel when you can, and don't postpone it and say, oh yeah, when I'm 50 or I travel. No, don't do that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's excellent. I didn't think Germans had trouble postponing travels, but I guess there's different travels that they postpone.
Yeah,
Um,
lots of Germans also go traveling, but they lie on the beach. And my skin,
yeah.
so you see, I'm quite red and white, and I don't tan, so I get like red like a crab, and I
Mm.
get sunburn. And I had also some skin cancer here, and I was operated really with a skin transplant when I was almost turned 41. So, and I
Mm.
came back from Yemen from a trip the same day. I came early in the morning, 7 or 8 o'clock, and at 11 o'clock, I was operated in the face, yeah, with the skin cancer. So I really, yeah, I just thought and I hope that the plane was in time, and yeah, and it was okay. So because the doctor did a good work because you can't see it really much anymore.
Well, that's great to hear. And your 50th birthday trip, you took a big Antarctic trip, as I understand.
Oh yeah, it was wonderful. Yeah, it was one of the nicest trips I ever did, and I'm glad I did that as well.
And there's so many different itineraries. So talk about what all you saw and which ones you would prioritize for someone with less time.
Someone with less time. I would less time or places you must go. I loved the Easter Island, and
Mhm.
the Easter Island is for me very, very similar from the climate and also from the Orkney Islands, which are north of Scotland.
Mm,
And when I came to Easter Island, I just thought, hey, I went out and I said, it's like the Orkney Island. And the Orkney Island is so much further north. And it's
mm,
also a spiritual thing. Yeah, they have uh, graves on the Orkney Islands. They have like stones, big standing stone circles,
mm,
and a big grave. And the island is also not very big. One of the Orkney Islands, the mainland or main island, is
mhm,
not so big compared to other islands. And also it's very a very nice place to go if you like history and you like something which is not clear why it is there. And
mhm,
so they also in the Easter Island they don't know why the moais were created and what
mhm,
exactly for and what the reason was. They have some ideas but they are not certain. And I love Africa a lot. I loved South Africa and Namibia to see the wildlife. Yeah, the Kruger National
mhm,
Park, the
mhm,
Etosha. And I really like to watch animals.
mm,
Yeah, for me, it was always very important to go out in nature. And I also went in some parks where they have no big cats like leopard
mhm, mhm,
or lions. I went for a hike in the parks. There in Swaziland, there was a youth hostel in such a park, and you could walk around. And the only thing you had to be aware of were the hippos,
mhm.
and they are the most dangerous. They kill more people than the lions.
Fantastic. We've got a question from Boris. He says, when I
Okay.
talk about my travels, women often tell me that they could never travel like me because it's not possible for women. What do you say to that?
I don't know how Boris travels, so
I think
I
he's not a woman. So
think
that's he doesn't know how to answer that.
I think you can travel to all countries. I was in Sudan on my own, and I went to Kenya and to Uganda and lots of African countries. I went on my own to Ghana, to the Ivory Coast. I was lucky. I belong to a international running group. I don't know whether you've heard about the Hash House Harriers,
Oh yeah.
drinking club with a running problem. And
Hmm.
I visited lots of those people who have different groups and go hashing. And I stayed sometimes with someone of the hashers and stayed in
And
their
you're
hut.
not even a drinker, so you're doing it for social, I think.
Yeah, I do it for social and I drink a little bit. Yeah, it's not so bad. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, but it was nice in Africa. I sometimes was lucky to meet people and was invited for a couple of days. But I think female can also travel. They shouldn't be afraid. Of course, you cannot travel to Saudi Arabia on your own as a female, but normally Afghanistan I went on my own. Iran I went on my own. And now maybe it's much easier than it was 10 years or 20 years ago.
mm,
I think I'm sad to hear. This is why I'm writing my books. I want to encourage people to go out and see more of the world, but at the same time protect the world, because for me it's still the wonder in the universe. Yeah, we haven't found anything similar, and I'm not sure when we find something similar like our planet. Yeah, if we ever will, and when that will be. And so far, we have to protect it as well. Yeah, and I'm a environmentalist, and I hate one-way packaging. Yeah, when you go and get a cup of coffee and you use it one way, and then people throw it away, and I try not to do that. I take a cup with me and I let it refill. Yeah, if I get a water or a Coke or something, even on the plane. Even on the
Mm.
plane, I do that. Yeah, I bring a cup, and then they can put the Coke or the water in, and they look at me a bit strange and said, "No, I don't want to have a one-way plastic."
Mm.
So yeah, and I hate that.
Oh, that's great. And
Any more
travelers
any
that
more
are,
questions?
I'm sorry?
Any more questions from the
Oh,
travelers?
yeah, I'm watching. I think they're all laughing along with your stories. They're all trying to get your second book as well. So
Yeah.
going to see if we skipped over any. Let's see. I think I've caught up. Sometimes the questions take a little while to post. So
Okay.
travelers that are interested in environmentalism, like yourself, in addition
Yeah.
to reusable cups and such, what do you
I,
recommend travelers do to get
I have
involved?
I have done several beach cleanings. Once with a group in Kitts and Nevis on the island in the yeah on St. Kitts with a group of hashers. We didn't go hashing. We just went beach cleaning, and I have done it in Norway. And I was so shocked that what the people left on a wonderful beach, one way grill. They were grilling, and then they just left the grill behind on the beach.
Wow.
And I found that, yeah, and I found Pampers and unbelievable what else I found. I cannot even name it. Yeah,
Mhm.
and the what I don't understand, just a couple of meters wider, there were some tons to put your rubbish in. Yeah, rubbish
Mhm.
bin. Yeah, and you just had to walk 100 meters or 100 yards and to put your rubbish in the tons. And the problem is the people were allowed to camp there, and one day they will be not allowed to do anything anymore because of those people. And when I walk along a beach, I was also last year in Portugal, and I was also on a small island, which were and also I walked along the beach and I took whatever I can take. And I
Mhm.
also in Canada beside the road, I walked in Jasper to the youth hostel, which was outside of town. I think it was like 4 miles or so, or 3 miles.
Mhm.
I had to walk. And then I found a big bag of plastic. And I say, okay, on the way home, and I took the plastic, took what I found, which didn't belong to the woods, and I took it with me. And I think it would be great if everybody who goes on the beach, walking on the beach, taking whatever with them, yeah, they can take and pin it somewhere.
Fantastic, great advice. And you mentioned hostels, so you're staying in hostels and budget accommodations on your trips?
Yeah, yeah. Most of the time when there were hostels, I would stay in hostels and to meet also people. Yeah, I like
Mhm.
to have a conversation. I speak Spanish, French, Italian, English, Dutch, a little Greek, a little Russian, a little Arabic, and
Mhm.
I like to communicate with people. And what I found quite sad in the last years, that the people would sit more on their computer and communicate with someone else who wasn't
Mhm.
there. Yeah,
Mhm.
and not talk to the people anymore who are around you, and to talk to the
Mhm.
travelers. And I realized that has changed a lot. And also some people my age are quite upset about it and find it very sad for the young people who travel, and instead of talking to each other. I remember I was in Mongolia and there was a group of people. I was there, how old was I? I was in mid-30s, and a group of people came, and apparently they knew each other and they wanted to watch TV. And I just thought, oh, how sad. Yeah. I mean, you gotta talk to each other and talk about your travels, what you have seen, and this exchange is so rewarding. And I have so many funny stories to tell about people, what they told me, and yeah, I can write 10 more books. I have just to get going.
Well, Brent has got 3 questions. So the first is about your books being available in English, which you said is you're hoping will happen.
Yeah, I hope so very much.
Okay. And then his second question is experience traveling around India, train, plane, websites that were useful.
I traveled in India 2002. So
Uh,
that is a while ago, and I didn't travel with any laptop or any technical device except from my photo camera. And I just had a return flight from Delhi, and I started in Sikkim. I was
hmm,
in the north, and I just had the idea what I with the, I took my guidebooks. Yeah, I had not Lonely Planet, another guidebook, and I traveled with a guidebook, and I read what I found interesting, and I went from Sikkim to Darjeeling, very nice places to see in the mountains in the north, and then they're also quiet, and then I got a culture shock when I went to Kolkata because it was a buzzy, busy city and lots of poor people. And from there, I went to across the country and stopped in different in Benares and Varanasi, in Khaturao, and
hmm,
other different places. I went to Jaipur, Jodhpur, and traveled more in the northern part. I didn't go south at all. I had 6 weeks in India.
wow, incredible. And then his other one is visiting Istanbul.
Yeah, great. I was there a long time ago. I was there long time ago, which is more than 25 years. Yeah, it's more than 25 years. And what I found very funny, I was during Christmas I think Christmas and New Year in Istanbul. And
Mhm.
in Istanbul, I was so surprised that I saw the first band as a group, pop group, ladies group. I didn't see a ladies group here in Germany or in England. I saw it
Hmm.
in Istanbul. And Istanbul, I must have changed a lot as well. I like the souk, and I like Istanbul. It's easy. It's easy from Frankfurt to fly to Istanbul, so I really liked it. But I think it was also very different than it's now. I can't tell. I haven't been back. I have traveled a lot in Turkey, but I haven't been back to Istanbul then. No.
Hmm. Turkey is another country with so many highlights. What are a few
Oh
that you
yes.
call out?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I loved Ephesus. I loved the excavations in Ephesus because I had a very interesting experience. I learned ancient Greek at school, and in Ephesus they had a museum,
Hmm.
and I was trying to read what was written in Greek because I learned ancient Greek.
I think we will close up the inbox today. I believe she lost connectivity. But any further questions for Nina, please put them in the comments and we'll get those answered. And thank you all for joining today.